Welcome to the Vitality Academy's presentation on Behind the Mask with Dr. Harry Ramnarine. This is part 2. Last week we did part 1 of Behind the Mask. It was an amazing webinar. We had over 500 people on. Thank you for coming on. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're very happy to have you. Vitality Academy is a partnership between JGR Global and myself and the doctors at Ishtara Centre. So Dr. Harry is actually the patriarch of the practice with over 40 years of clinical practice. He started the Ishtara Centre, which means the Center of Light, and it is located in Chaguanas, Trinidad. There are 3 additional doctors in the practice, and a couple things. If you see a couple people in the chat with an image next to their name, that's actually one of the doctors. 3 of the doctors are typically on the call with us. So you'll see Dr. Roshan, Dr. Adriel, Dr. Nalash. So they're all doctors in the practice, and you can ask any question you want in the chat. And what we will do is, what I will do in the background is I'll disappear here in a moment and ask questions that come up that are more pertinent to this talk that Harry's giving now. I'm going to put them in the Q&A and we'll address them at roughly an hour from now, give or take. So with that being said, if you have any technical challenges, make sure you're using the most updated version of Google Chrome browser or Firefox, and make sure that your internet is not being shared with someone using YouTube or whatever. And if your computer has any glitches, like the audio sticks or the video sticks, the easiest fix for that is actually just to refresh your browser, which is a little circular thing that you'll see towards the top on one side of your browser. Okay, so with that, Dr. Harry, welcome, and I'm going to disappear, and I will be here, guys, to help you out on the technical side. But welcome, Dr. Harry Ramnarine, and we're looking forward to your talk.
Yes, John, and the rest of you, greetings from the center, Ishtara, and we're going to do part 2 of our Behind the Mask. The last webinar last week, we actually talked about removing the mask. And that comes from a point of knowing, which is quite different from knowledge. Knowing comes when we understand ourselves. How do we come to that place? We come to a place of silence, stillness. When the mind actually stops, then we are directly connected to the source. And from the source, we have what is called knowing. Knowledge, on the other hand, comes from whatever others have found in their lives. They have found from a point of knowing too, and they share with us. And sometimes we all need that, but too much of that can certainly lead to programming in ourselves, and then we continue looking for knowledge and filling ourselves with knowledge and literally blocking the process of knowing. So let us continue. Let us start this process this evening. And can you imagine a universe where we all have a role, we all have a place, and we get to know who we are? Then suddenly we can actually be at a place where we can contribute significantly to the universe. Instead of living a life where we're just looking to get something and fill our lives with things, material things, maybe spiritual things. And as one person said before, the need and the search for spiritual stuff is just as bad as material stuff. You know, it's just as bad in looking for material things in their life. So we need to be in a place where we have a balance, and a balance literally brings us to a point where we can contribute significantly. I made a point last time that, you know, we tend to look at 1% in the world, and I tend to feel that we are at a juncture in life where, on this planet, where we actually can get to a place where we understand that we are also a part of a 1%. My point I made the last time is that we have 101 percenters. Do you fit into 1%? Have you recognized where you are at? And if you do, then what is your contribution to the whole, to the entire planet and to the universe? So let me sort of recap some things a bit. And what I would like to do is to just refresh some of the things that we did in the past, and that is to understand that there are 2 triads in life. The first one, when we look at the material or the manifested universe, there are three things: matter, energy, and information. And so if you look at anything that is, let's say, material, and I just have a little crystal to demonstrate. It's a double terminated sapphire from Afghanistan, very powerful crystal. And this is matter. At the atomic level, it is pure energy. And at the subatomic level, it is information. So there you have matter, energy, and information. So everything in the universe, and that includes our bodies. We have a physical body, we have an energy system, and also we have an informational field. And at the informational field, we all have all the programs that we have been programmed to become in our lives. And we are trying to talk about all those programming as the mask that we all have been wearing for the last maybe 9 to 12 months. And it's a time for us now in a spiritual way to remove the mask and recognize who we are. And that comes from a sense of knowing, as I've said a while ago. So the other triad has to do with the human body and the human being, and that is the material, physical level. Then you have a mental plane, a mental level, a mind, and then you have the spiritual level. So body, mind, and spirit. And that's the next triad. And when you look at that particular triad in life, it is always, disconnected. We are all disconnected. We are either not connected to the whole to start with. And in the time we are living in now, I think the year of COVID 2020 is a very interesting year. And we have found that it's the year, and I spoke about this last time, it's the year where we have the opportunity to bring all three things together. As I've said before, we looked at all the number of years in the past and the future, and 2020 is such a significant year where we have the possibility of bringing body, mind, and spirit into harmony. Are you all prepared to jump on board and continue from there, or you just feel that you're so programmed that you already have it all and to be comfortable where you are and continue where you're going? I think it's time that we become more aware and understand that it's a moment, an opportunity we have in the year of COVID. By the way, today is the 25th, and it reminds me that it's another 2 months before Christmas, or whatever that is. Anyway, it's the 25th today. And every month, I'm always thinking of Christmas when it's the 25th. So kind of a mini celebration for me. So going back to the concept of the holy triads in life, I think we just need to understand that it's so important that we bring the body in harmony with the mind. The mind is always in control of the body. Man is nothing but mind, and whatever is going on at the mental level, the mind, it is manifesting in a physical level. So I'm going to introduce an idea to you to give you some things to think about in the next few days and maybe next few weeks. And that is, the scientists have always claimed that matter or energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And I kind of wonder about that many times. So here's an experiment. Let us all start from a place, and just in your imagination for a moment, let us start from a place where we have no thought. The mind has stopped. It is still. And then we are totally connected. And then out of that comes an idea, which is nothing but information. A thought enters, and it's a beautiful thought. And then that, as soon as that happens, immediately what is going to follow is it contains a vibration. It's energy. And then as long as you have energy, simultaneously you're going to create matter. So it dispels the whole theory that science have so far said that matter cannot be created nor destroyed, or energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So I'm saying that if we start from matter, we go to energy, and we go to information. Matter, energy, information. But if we start from nothing and we have a thought, an idea, then we are from a generation of an idea, you are going to generate energy and you're going to generate matter. So here's the thing. Let us look at our lives now in a very personal way. Whatever is going on in your mind, whatever is going on in your thoughts, whatever you're generating, whatever you're holding, guess what you're doing? You're generating energy, and you are simultaneously generating matter, tiny matter. So here's the other thing that is going to happen. The thing is that you're going to find yourself generating, if you have negative emotions or negative thinking, let's say, whatever it might be, whether through stress, whether through anger, and whatever negative thought that you might be entertaining at some deep level within yourself, you are going to generate matter in correspondence with that particular type of thought and that energy that is going to be related to it. That will eventually influence your microbiome and then cause a whole lot of chaos in your body. And the end result would be disease, degeneration, eventually death in the process. So I want you to contemplate that idea that whenever we are thinking, whenever a thought enters into our mind that is not in sync with the whole, where it's not in harmony with the source itself, then you are going to actually generate the vibrations of that thought, then the material aspect of that thought, which influences the entire physical body, even generating abnormal cells out of the microbiome and generating disease. So I just wanted to leave that with you. Let us turn to water for a moment. And I conducted some experiments recently over the last few months where we took water, sterilized the water using ultraviolet light, and did it repeatedly, then placed it in a clean, very clean, sterilized bottle and leave it there exposed to sunlight. Guess what happens? Within about 7 to 10 days, start to grow algae. And where does it come from? It comes from the microbiome in water. So that proves to us that we have removed all bacterial, content from the sterilization and any other microorganisms from the water. First of all, it goes through a process of, let's say, distillation, filtration, or reverse osmosis. Then you sterilize. So you have a very clean water. And despite all of that, you can generate algae, life forms in the water once it's exposed to sunlight. So that sunlight coming into the water from the outside then activates something in the water, which is nothing but microbiomes existing in the water. And your body is 70% water. So even if you get exposed to healthy thoughts, exposed to the correct lighting, even sunlight, your body can generate positive cells in your system that can enhance your health and well-being. So just another idea that you should think about, and think about what water contains. And water has the capacity to create anything, really. It starts even in the ocean with algae. And believe it or not, that's what fishes feed on. They convert the nourishment from the algae into omega-3s, fatty acids. That's where the fats come from, the algae in the ocean. So water is very important, and it does contain nanoparticles of microbiomes. And as I've referred to microbiomes before, I think they are called the God cells inside of us. And why am I saying this? If we are all human beings with three different aspects of ourselves, let's say the physical, the vibrational, and the informational, and you are nothing but the divine manifesting in that form. Here's what: the divine has to be manifesting in a physical form inside of our bodies, and that's what the microbiome is all about. So that's the reason I've actually come to the conclusion that our microbiome is nothing but God cells. Unfortunately, the way we live our lives, the way we have been programmed to think, it is always away from the whole, separate from the whole. We operate as selfish beings because we are so disconnected. And when we live like that, what happens to us is that the microbiomes actually move in another direction. And the very interesting things about the microbiome is they are very, very sensitive cells. They range from nanoparticle size to bacterial size, and they're extremely sensitive, a lot more sensitive than your body cells. Your body cells, our body cells, have evolved on this planet for millions of years, and there are very few things can affect those cells. They're very tough cells. They can only be affected by just a few, and I've named them in the past in previous webinars, about 5 at least. Now, the microbiome, they are actually very, very sensitive. And you can even just be upset get angry for a moment and you've forgotten about the anger within half an hour, but the microbiome have already acted on that or reacted from it and generating some type of inflammatory situation in some part of your body. And 2-3 weeks later, it's manifesting as maybe a joint pain or maybe an infection somewhere in your kidneys, somewhere in your eyes, and then you wonder where it came from. So all of this is to help you to understand that you should be walking with awareness. Awareness comes from this energy center and the brow chakra. So let us just review. Our bodies were created within the womb of our mothers. And from the 5 chakras becoming extremely active within the dark energies of the mother's womb, what has happened is that it generated and created an entirely perfect body like we have. Then comes the mind, the next chakra, which is infinitely much greater than the other chakras. And because of the mind, you can now create. You can generate thoughts, you can generate energy, you can generate matter within yourself. You can even generate and create matter from the cosmic energy field, the divine space that we live in. Just by projecting a thought, you can materialize things as well. But we are also doing it within our bodies by the same law of attraction that we have known so much about. So when we actually look at ourselves, we have a mind, and that mind is way exponentially much larger than the functions of all of these chakras that are all related to the physical body. And then when we go to the other level, which is much more difficult, it's the state of consciousness that gives us an understanding that we are one with everything. How can you start to work on that chakra? Well, start to live your life like you are one with everything. Start to think that you are the same substance everything else around you. It boils down to something that is very simple: compassion. And how do we relate? How do we externalize compassion? Is by sharing, connecting with people. And so when we start to live our lives like that and get away from the self mode, the selfish mode, that leads to deterioration. Seriously, if you want to live a long life and go past 100, start thinking of activating this chakra up here and understand that it's all about sharing what you have to give back. That's what gratitude is all about, gratitude. So today, what I'm going to be looking at is how the microbiome can be affected in the body using the technologies that we promise you in this seminar. We'll be going into that in a short while. And so how is all of this happening in your body? So the mind generates the body and generates the body that you and I have right now by the way we have been programmed. The first thing is we need to start removing the mask, getting rid of it completely. And the extent to which we can do that is directly related to the type of bodies that we're going to have. A cleaner body, a healthier body, let's say a body that can reverse the aging process. Because all of this, even I would say the 3 Ds that I've spoken about, disease, degeneration, and death, it all comes from the thought patterns, the mind patterns that we carry, the way we think, the way we act, the way we behave, and how that is affecting, downloading itself down into the microbiome in the body and having a devastating effect. It's what causes disease at the beginning, then it goes on to degeneration, which is nothing but the aging process, and then it goes eventually to death. So there you have it. It is possible by changing the way we think, the way we live our lives, that we can actually change the body. So let us go into some of these things that we have spoken about. And the first thing I would like to make a point is that all of this comes from the Ishtara Centre, and all the doctors who work here contributed to what we are going to present to you. And even though we are going to give it to you freely, without a charge or anything, we would hope that and would like that you respect and understand that this is not for commercial use. We're not giving this information that you can take and commercialize it. Leave that to us if we should choose to do that. And I make that plea because it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, and this includes all the doctors. That's not myself. I may be just the leader in the lot, but they have all contributed significantly in the last few years that they have been here to what we are doing today, all of them. So please honor that, respect it, and understand that we are here to serve you and to give you all the relevant information. Hope that you will take it and use it. So here's what. In the last webinar, we spoke about the concept of how do we help the masses. The masses have been so programmed. You know, I tried just a while ago, for the last 2 years in my instrument, I have a cable, and it looks, you know, just like an ordinary electrical cable.
Hello, everyone. It appears that Dr. Harry has disappeared. So I'm guessing you have internet challenges. Let me reach out to those guys and double check. So it's always a good time to pause and see what questions you have so far. I know you're about to get the good stuff. By the way, everyone would have lost audio and video. So he'll be back in just 1 second. Let me reach out to those helping him on the other side, and hopefully everything's okay. So give me 1 second, all right? You know, he actually, Karen, I think he did disconnect the cable. All right. Looks like he's coming back. So,
okay.
Okay. So it looks like I'm seeing Dr. Harry. You're back?
So I'm back again. Hopefully,
all right. Hopefully
should be able to continue. All right. That's not my doing. I was probably slowing down my breathing to the extent that maybe I shut off everything. All right. Okay, so let's see. No, I didn't disconnect anything, actually. All right, so let's take up from where we left off. What I was saying, I hope I got you got some of what I was saying. I don't know where I got cut off, but I'm going to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is, how do we influence the masses? And it takes time. So we have developed a number of simple remedies that we can all have access to. And our objective is to work towards removing the program of disease, degeneration, and death. It's our objective in the next 10 years to achieve that. And it's just removing that program. And let us see what happens to our lives, our bodies, our minds, and so on. So the first, and you need pen and paper, because you need to write some notes as we go along. I'll go as slowly as I can. So I'm going to give you what is considered to be a list of complete foods. And these complete foods are super foods. And you should be able to have them available and use them on a regular basis. Now, what I'm going to provide for you, or what I'm going to provide in this section, is all the work, the research we have done in combining things together. And I have a list of a number of things that I'm going to sort of show you briefly. Then we'll go through the list. So it's a list about 18 things, but I'm going to start with a list that is actually complete foods. So I will name them for you as we go along. And what is a complete food? You don't need to add anything else to it. It's already complete. It works at all 3 levels of yourself. Now, can you imagine, the truth is always simple. And I look for the simple things, the very simple things that can make a big difference. So there are few foods that, I've given some of this before. There are foods that we can consume. They actually nourish our bodies, but they also nourish the mind and nourish the spirit side of us as well, which actually means making a connection to the source. It's as simple as that. You can call it prayer or meditation, because I will explain to you last time, and we're always talking about spin, and people are always confused. I have a fidget spinner here, and I'm spinning it in a clockwise, so it's moving in a clockwise direction. Now I'm going to turn it in the anti-clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction, and spinning on the left, going to the left. This is the right going to the right. And then you have 0 spin. So you have 3 types of spins. Let me repeat. A right spin is always something that is pathological. And so poisonous substances, things that can do you harm, would always be a right spin. And I've said before, all pharmaceutical drugs are right spin. Are they bad? Yes and no. Yes, because they also have side effects. Every drug has a side effect, but no, because sometimes we need them. Example, pain relief, antibiotics, and so on. We all need them, but we need to use them wisely and to make sure when we use them that we have the more benefits rather than the side effects predominating. So homeopathic medicines, they're all right spin too, because it's based on the concept of like curing like, similia similibus curantur. And you're applying the same energy or disease patterns in the medicine as the disease in your body, and they literally cancel each other. So those are all the principles. Vaccines work in exactly the same. You give a tiny bit of the virus, it evokes a response at a physical level, but energetically, it is also literally creating a scenario where you can overcome the diseases that you have, let's say a virus or whatever. So all of those would fall in the category of the right spin. Now, if you have food that is, let's say, filled with a lot of chemicals and it's not too good for your health, that could easily be a right spin as well. Left spin is all the food, and those are the nourishing things that we need. But what we have done is to look at the food that are already zero spin. And what we're doing with the combination is trying to find a yin and a yang, a balance of one or the other, so that at least we can get to a zero spin. So you can take a particular food and make it into a zero spin. And we have already done that by the research, by a lot of extensive and careful research, and that's what we're going to share with you in a short while. So let's go with those that we have found that do not need a partner, so to speak. They are already complete and they work very well. And I would suggest that you get all of them and use them on a daily basis, one way or the other. So the first one, and I've given this list before, bee pollen. And bee pollen works at all levels of yourself, all levels. And all you need is a tiny, tiny bit. So you buy a bottle of bee pollen and you put it in your freezer, and it will stay a long time in your freezer. And you can take a tiny bit. If you have any allergies, then you start with a tiny bit, very small amount, and gradually increase. If you find that you're reacting poorly, then it will take time before you could desensitize yourself. And so you have to be cautious if you're a very allergic individual. The next one is coconut, and all aspects of the coconut. The coconut we are talking about is when you take a dry coconut and you cut it in two, and the hard jelly inside there from which coconut oil is made, that's what we're talking about. And coconut actually works at all levels of yourself. Ghee is the next one, Ghee, and that comes from dairy. And for those who are sensitive to dairy, you can use ghee if it is nothing but clarified or purified butter. And you remove all the milk solids from it, all the protein, so you have pure fat. And that is a very powerful healing fat. The next one is rock salt. And rock salt actually works at all levels of yourself. The next one is noni, and that made the rounds a couple of decades ago. The next one is schizandra. It's a Chinese herb, and it's a very powerful tonic remedy. And so you can get that easily in health food shops. It's called Schizandra, Shizandra. Sometimes it's spelled Shic instead of a Z. And so that's Schizandra. The next one is one mushroom called shaga mushroom. It's grown in beech trees. It's a very dark brown powdered mushroom, or maybe the mushroom sometimes is sold in granular form, or maybe broken up bits, and you can make a tea from that. I like the powdered one, and then you take everything internally. And the last one that I found so far, and we will continue to search for these nuggets and these very important ones in the future. The next one is nettle. Nettle has a very powerful effect on all levels of yourself. So you have a list of things that you can use on a daily basis, and they will all influence all levels of yourself. So there you have it, a list of foods that you can use. And as you do that, they are working through every organ. Interestingly, we also look at, in the last webinar, we spoke about the use of a technique in healing, which we are moving into, where if you have an organ that is sick, let's say the heart, for instance, you don't treat the heart. What you do is you treat the whole body through another organ. Let's say you might treat the whole body through the liver, and then the heart gets better. Because if you try treating the heart and the heart is sick, it has little or no energy, it is degenerating, and you try to activate or stimulate it, it could get worse. So in a way, you're working with another technique where you come in from another angle, another organ that is already okay and filled with energy, and you can use that to treat the entire body. I introduced that idea in the last webinar last week. And so all of these that I've just given you a list of, they are actually the remedies or the food that actually have zero spin, and they actually work at all three levels of yourself. And so little by little, hopefully within the next 5 to 10 years, you would see major changes in yourself, major changes if you consume them. All right, so we can leave that list, and now we can go on to some of the where we spent lots of hours identifying things that would work. So the first one, I have a list in alphabetical order, so I will go through these, and I will also list through which organ is working. Now, let me say from the beginning is that, don't ask me how much to mix. I leave that to your own intuition. Because what you're doing is taking one particular food, and you are actually, and it's usually concentrated food, and if you test it, you would find out of the three levels, the physical body, so body, mind, spirit, one thing will work at 2 levels, or sometimes it works at 1. So then you're looking for something else that would work for the other 2 or the other 1. And that makes a complete whole. It's alchemy of food. And what it's doing is taking one food, adding to another one, and suddenly they become totally different. They behave in a different way. It's like you bring 2 different colors, and you mix them, and you create a totally different color. It's no longer either red or green. It's now somewhere in the middle. It could be a lemon color or yellow or whatever. So just keep that in mind. So the first one I'm going to discuss is actually almonds, and that's readily available, and it goes with fennel seeds. And this is interesting because it has its action through the pineal gland. So I'm going to give you the organ through which it works. So when you consume that, let's assume you want to eat 5 or 6 almonds, for instance, and you want to eat it straight off as it is. Then what you can do is actually take a tiny bit, a pinch of, and I say a pinch, maybe 20 grains of fennel seeds, and you chew it up all together. And in chewing it up all together, they mix in your mouth, and they create a different energy as you are chewing and bringing them all together. If you choose to make almond milk, for instance, or you already have almond milk, you can blend it up with some fennel seeds, and then you have a mix that is changed completely as well. So there are many ways in which you can use it. So almonds go well with fennel seeds. Then for those, and I'm sure all of you here would have access to avocados. In Trinidad, we call them zabucas, sabuca. So they're avocados. And avocado seeds are very, very nutritious and very powerful. So avocado seeds, what you do with them is, from now on, you must not discard and throw away your avocado seeds. Take the avocado seeds, let them dry for a while, peel off the outer skin. Then you can grate the avocado seeds. It comes out from a pale, very pale, pinkish color, or peachy color. And then as it gets oxidized, it gets into dark reddish brown. And then you can put it in your oven at a very low temperature and let it cook for a while. But keep an eye on it so you don't burn the gratings of it. And when it's just crisp enough, then that is what you keep. And then you can blend that up in your coffee grinder into a powdered form. And then what you do is you can put in a few cloves. It goes well with cloves. And that has a very powerful effect on the thymus gland. It works through the thymus gland. And remember, thymus has a whole lot of influences in the immune system. So avocado seeds prepared in the way I just mentioned, where you grate it, you literally cook it, if you like, on an open, in a skillet or some pot, but be careful, don't burn it up. It must just it should be, when it's done, and you powder it in your coffee grinder, it should be a nice brown color. And then you can add the clove, the bits of clove to it, I know some of you are going to try and put too much clove, but that's okay. Next time around, you know better. So use your intuition. Just start with a level where you feel comfortable. All right, so that works on the thymus. Then the next one is beet and pomegranate. Beet, what we do here is to purchase the powder of beet and the pomegranate powder or in the concentrated liquid, and you mix them together. And that's wonderful for the heart and all the blood vessels. In fact, it does generate a lot of nitric oxide in your epithelial lining of your blood vessels. So it's great for the heart, or it works through the heart, I should say. Just remember what I'm going to be repeating all the time is that it's working through an organ to treat the entire body. So these combinations work on your physical, your mental, and spiritual. So there you have food that is being converted, going from a left spin into a zero spin. And when it goes to a zero spin, automatically it has an effect on all levels of yourself. They're all spiritual medicine now, zero spin medicine. So it's just like when you sit down to meditate, the food is generating the same effect. Right, the next one is cinnamon and honey. And cinnamon and honey has a powerful working through the liver. So it influences the entire body through the liver. The liver is a huge organ, a very important organ. So cinnamon and honey is really very good for that. So you get powdered Sri Lankan cinnamon, not the Vietnamese or the Chinese one. It's a different plant tree altogether. It's darker, more tough. The Ceylonese one and the Grenadian cinnamon, that's the one you want to use, Grenadian cinnamon or Ceylonese cinnamon. We are fortunate that we get a lot from Grenada. It's cheaper. If you're buying Ceylonese cinnamon, it's much more expensive, maybe 5-10 times more than the Grenadian one. And you're going to mix that. When you buy it in the powdered form if you can, or if you get the sticks, you can either powder it yourself with a gadget that you might have in your kitchen. And when you powder that, then you put it in a jar and you keep adding slowly the honey until you make a paste. And now you can store that paste. It will last a long time. You can just dip a teaspoon into it, put it in a cup, boiling water, and you drink that. You have an effective remedy for the whole body working its way through the liver. I did talk about all these organs as managers in the body. Managers, it's like you have a business, you have managers. The right manager will do the job for you. And so you have the information. If you feel that you need to work on the whole body and it should come through the liver, ask yourself the question, then you choose the ones that you have. If you're like me and you kind of don't want to work out anything too much, you just go with your intuition and you say, today I feel like drinking cocoa nibs, making cocoa nibs with raisin, and that's the next one. So the next one is cocoa nibs, and I'm sure you all know cocoa nibs. It's the real thing, not the chocolate. The real thing is cocoa nibs, the cocoa seeds. It's dried and it's broken up into nibs, and that mixes with raisins as well. Just in case you're diabetic and you have to use honey and raisins, you can still use it, but use smaller amounts of the sweet stuff, the raisins and the honey. And in fact, by improving your liver function, your diabetic state can also improve. So cocoa nibs and raisins work through the pituitary gland, the master gland, and therefore has an influence on all the other hormonal glands. So let me repeat: cocoa nibs and raisins and working through your pituitary gland. The next one that I mentioned last time is coffee and dates. And so you can brew your coffee, and you can actually even take boiling water, put it in your Vitamix or your blender, and blend it up at high speed for a while, strain it, put it back into your blender, put some dates. And I would suggest, again, if you're diabetic, then you should be careful not to put too many dates in it. And depending on the type of dates you use, you have small ones, you have large ones. Like the medjool dates are larger, the other dates are much smaller, and you have even smaller ones, depending on where it's coming from, Middle East or California or wherever. So you have got to be careful. So if you're not diabetic, you can probably easily, with a cup of coffee, maybe anywhere between 2 to 3 dates. If you're diabetic, well, then you could go with 1 date only. And that's normally the way to go, just 1 date at a time. So that works through your thyroid gland. And it activates and literally revs up your thyroid gland and get the metabolism going very well. So coffee and dates. Now, some people who would like to drink like 4 and 5 cups of coffee per day, now they think, well, I could mix my dates and have 5 cups per day. just be careful, because you don't want to overstimulate the body. You don't want to overdo anything in life, really. Be moderate in everything. So I know a lot of people drink a lot of coffee. I only tried it out twice since I came to understand that, and it worked well. I mean, I was able to sleep after drinking a cup of coffee with dates in it, to go to sleep right after. I was just kind of 5 minutes after drinking, yawning away. So that's the coffee on dates. The next one works through the blood, and that's coriander and garlic. And it's a powerful medicine which also energizes the entire bloodstream and also helps to purify the blood. It's coriander. It's one of the seeds in curry. It's a round, small seed. I'm sure you know it, coriander. There are other names for it, and garlic. Now, if you're going to mix the two, they're very powerful. The garlic is very pungent, so just be careful. Just take a tiny bit of coriander, maybe half a teaspoon, and maybe a few pieces of a clove of garlic. Some of you might be daring enough to try a big clove of garlic with some coriander. Well, I think it's going to activate your system too much. So just be aware of how much you're going to use. It's safe, but it's just that if you use too much of it, it can actually create a whole lot of activities in your stomach and your intestines, which is just going to last for a short while. But small amounts of the garlic, because it's very powerful, and the coriander. So my suggestion is like maybe half a teaspoon of coriander powder, or maybe even up to a third of a teaspoon, with a small amount of chopped garlic, and you can blend it up in water, make it like a soup, and just with a spoon. All right, so that's one way of doing it, and that works through the blood system. And again, remember, it's working on all levels of yourself and the entire body. So all of these combinations, you're all doing alchemy by mixing these things, and in doing that, you're actually creating an effect, a dramatic effect at all levels. But they're also very gentle as well, and it will take time before you see results. So the next one is actually fenugreek, and nutmeg. So you can actually buy fenugreek as seeds, and you can blend it up, and you can crush it in your coffee grinder, and you can add, gratings of nutmeg onto it. Just be careful. Nutmeg is very, very strong, so just a little bit goes a long way, and that works through your gallbladder. The fenugreek and nutmeg works through the gallbladder and energizes the entire body. The next one is flaxseed. Nowadays, we have something called flax milk. So I want to see all of you who knows, raise your hands like me now. I don't think I could see you. Who knows flax milk? So that's an interesting new food that is on the market, and it can be bought, flax milk, and that goes with cardamom seeds. So you can blend that up, and it works very well, and that energizes the entire body through the adrenal glands. The next one is quite fascinating. In the past few years, in discussing some of the webinars on actually the truth about cancer, people spoke a lot about frankincense and marijuana. And what we found is we started with frankincense, and that paired beautifully with marijuana. So a small amount of marijuana, whether brewed as a tea or whatever you like, or even the buds itself, a small amount, you can add it to frankincense, which is a gum. You can actually powder it, and you can blend it up and make a tea from it, and you can drink it. That works beautifully, and I think it would work through the bone marrow, and activates the bone marrow in a way that it influences the whole body. We're dealing with an energetic system. When you combine these things, you're dealing purely with energy, an energy system, and information that gets into the whole body. So we move on into the next one. You may not or may not be able to get that, but I know some people here, we have a lot of it: guava leaf and rosemary. Let me see what I have. So this is my doing here. This is guava leaves from the guava tree, and it's blended up in a blender with actually rosemary, and that combination works on the pancreas in your body. The entire pancreas is in the digestive process and enhances the whole system. Just a little break. This is my combination to show you on cocoa and raisins in the jar. And remember that works on the pituitary gland. This one, well, we haven't reached that point yet. The next one is mango. Mango leaves work well with green tea. Green tea. And I've made some of that here. And it's very nice tasting tea. It's dried mango leaves crushed and added with equal amounts of green tea. Now, some of you may not be able to get mango leaves, but hopefully somewhere in the future, somebody from Ishtara will take up the slack and start making it and selling it abroad or sending it abroad to people. But this may be one that may be difficult, but if you live in the tropics, you can pick mango leaves and try it, and then you crush them, and you can mix that with your green tea. It makes a really powerful healing tool. So mango leaf and green tea works on the brain area, through the brain. So that's the mango leaf green tea combination. And you're all familiar with moringa. Moringa became famous in the last few years in the West, and that pairs very readily with breadfruit. You know how many of you all out there in the cold compared to the tropics. We have lots of breadfruit here, breadfruit trees, and so we dry the breadfruit leaves and we mix that, and that works through the lymphatic system. Moringa and breadfruit leaf through the lymphatic system. So one or two or three of these you might find difficulty finding them in North America or in Europe, for instance, other parts of the world. But that's okay because you have a whole lot here to work with. Then the next one is oats and blueberry. So I did bring some samples here. So this is oats and blueberry. So you mix like this, and then what you do is you add water to it overnight, and you allow it to naturally ferment. Or you can leave it in the fridge for a few days to ferment in the fridge too. And then it's partially digested, and then you have a powerful food that's become a medicine, and working at all levels of yourself. And that works through the spleen, right? This is my mixture of cinnamon and honey. I'm sure you can taste the sweetness. Right, so move on. The next one that works through the sex glands in both males and females is a combination of mushroom. Now, we mentioned chaga as a complete mushroom before, but this one is a mixture of mushrooms. So that available now, you have lots of mushrooms that are mixed together, cordyceps together with reishi and different ones, maitake, turkey tail, and so on. Agaricus, they all have mixtures. So you can buy a bag now available with mixtures, and you can put a tiny bit of cayenne from a capsule mixed into it, and you can have that as a soup, very mild soup. Yes, and drink it with a spoon. And that works through the sex glands. The next one is the holy basil, tulsi, which is available everywhere in the world now in package form. And there's a tea called gynostemma. The Chinese term for it, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, is Jayangulan. But remember gynostemma, Gynostema, and that mixes with tulsi. I'm sure you can purchase the holy basil in the dried forms many places. And that works through the lungs, energizes the body through the lungs. Then the next famous one that you all might already know is turmeric and ginger. And that's what I have in this. I've gone off again. Okay, I'm back on. So this is the mixture, equal portions of turmeric and ginger. And then you take a level teaspoon. And this actually works through the immune system. And this can be used on a daily basis easily. You don't need to put black pepper in it. Once you get to this level of alchemy, then you don't need anything else. Just take this alone. That's it. A level teaspoon once or twice a day. If you're not well, you're feeling sick, then I don't know if John, can you still hear me? I don't know what's happening here.
Hi, Dr. Harry. Yes, we could hear you just fine, just can't see you. I'm not sure what's happening with the video. Can you hear me, Harry? Okay. Before we finish up, can you and when you get done with your list, can you do like a quick, kind of a quick run through of them again? Okay, great. Thank you. What you could do, Dr. Harry, is also just refresh the browser. Oh, he's gone. Okay, so get Dr. Harry just a moment, guys. So he, as he said, he is going to go through them a lot with everyone. It's quite the list, and just be cognizant that write down as quickly as you can. This is a good one to get on the membership, because this is just, it's a lot of great data. So and there's a lot of great questions about it too. So Jocelyn, refresh audio and video. Yes, looks like he's coming back.
So am I on again?
Thank you for all the great questions, guys. A lot of great questions and coming in the chat. You there, Dr. Harry? Jocelyn, refresh audio and video. Yes,
Okay.
looks like he's coming back.
So we can on.
I can see you.
Oh, I'm on again. That's fine.
You're on. Yep.
I don't know what's happening here. So we'll go through the list very quickly in a short while. This is some time. So the last one is actually wheatgrass, and a lot of people have used wheatgrass over the years. And just before turmeric and ginger work through the immune system. So that is something that you can use your body. You can use that on a daily basis. And all of these things can be used on a daily basis, but you have a lot of them. So what I'm saying is that some of them you might choose more than others, but you can have all of them available, or most of them. So the last one I have on my list is wheatgrass together with cashew nuts. And this works through the kidneys. You know, cashew nut looks like a kidney as well. But maybe red beans also have a kidney shape, and kidneys have a bean shape. So wheatgrass pairs with raw cashew nuts, good quality raw cashew nuts. You could blend them together and you have a really good drink. And all you need is very small amounts. You don't need a lot. Just before I repeat the list here, I'm going to just make a point here that all of these are food. They're highly concentrated food. But what you're doing is bringing the food to a level, a quality, a vibrational level, so that it will influence every cell in your body, every organ in your body, plus influence the mind level, the mental level, and also influence your spiritual level. It's all about bringing us back in alignment with spirit, bringing us back in alignment with the dark energies that we spoke about, which is nothing but the regenerative, rejuvenating energies. We are all deteriorating with time because our gut flora, the microbiome in the body, is responding in such a way that it downloads via the vagus nerve into the gut region. And then as we go from, let's say, the childhood state when our bodies are in a perfect state, it starts deteriorating slowly. And it starts at puberty when your thymus gland starts to shrink in some way. And the sex hormone starts with, increasing in a similar way. As the sex hormones increasing, the thymus gland is also reducing. And then what is going on here is that the microbiome is then being influenced. And so disease, degeneration, and death actually comes from the gut flora. But then that is happening because of what is happening at the consciousness level. So in applying all of these very powerful combinations here, what you're doing is giving yourself the opportunity to be healthy, to live a long life, and also at the same time to reverse the aging process step by step, slowly back to where you should be. Think of yourself as an infinite being, a being that is, let's say, functioning from the source itself. And the source is about a life. It's like a fountain of living energies that literally supports your life and your health and your well-being. But we come into this world and we are very connected, and then slowly, step by step, we are disconnected. And death comes as an end result. We lose ourselves. Now, I don't like to talk too much about this, but what happens after death, to a large extent, is to a large extent on this planet is there's no consciousness to the majority of people after death. If you don't become awakened now and bring yourself in alignment in that way, then when we die, we're just finished. And that's hard for people to understand, hard for people to accept, because religion will all come down and say, no. There are other possibilities. Heaven is a possibility. Hell is not a possibility, and reincarnation is another possibility. The reality is very, very clear to us now that when people die, it's an end. It's an end. And it is up to you to make a difference in your life. It is up to you to reconnect. And it involves a daily practice. In the same way, it involves a daily practice of being mindful of what you consume, what you put into your body, and how you eat your food. And also a daily practice of what do you do from day to day, at least maybe once a day, if not twice a day, in bringing yourself in harmony and living the life by way of the manifestation of the divine through this life that we have. So let me go back then to repeating what we had before, and the list is, I'm going to run through very quickly, the complete food list that you should all be consuming on a regular basis: bee pollen, the coconut products, ghee, rock salt, noni, schisandra, chaga, mushroom, and nettle. So those you can use on a regular basis. I love to get the nettle. We have a variety in Trinidad here that you can just pick and just blend in water and put it in the refrigerator and drink from that. And that's extremely nourishing. You see, the bodies that we want to generate would require less and less of this gross food that we have. We're talking about subtle food or subtle substance and gross food. Let me give you an example. In some scriptures, they talk, on some lists, I call it sacred literature, we talk about the manna from heaven. And that's nothing but the prana that we live in. It's filled all around. This prana generated from the sun, it's generated in the quantum field. It's all over the trees, everywhere we have prana. There's prana in the food, in the plant material, in all the foods that we eat, all the fruits. And the thing is that when we absorb, even through breath, can you imagine in breath you have matter in there, tiny matter? As I've said before, there's no existence of anything that is informational or vibrational and doesn't contain matter. It could be just tiny matter. And you can rebuild your body by just breath alone, with your consciousness, your awareness, your intention. And so we need to start living our lives with more intention. And so when we can give you products like these combined together, that makes a difference. I'm sure in a few years from now, you would see the results, because this is powerful in its own way, because not many people have put these things together for us. And I'm happy to be part of that circle, to share that, so that we can make a difference. We can make a difference to the masses, to the people who have difficulties in changing their programming. So let me run through that list again for you. Almonds go with fennel seeds, and it works through the pineal gland. Avocado seed with the clove. Now, I remember some years ago, maybe Kathy is on listening to this webinar. We attended, a group of us attended a seminar, and they recommended avocado seeds, and we all tried, putting the raw avocado seeds, and then it makes everything taste horrible. But when you dry this, take the seeds and grate it, and literally put it through the oven and make it dry and crispy, and then you make a powder. It's nice tasting at that point, and it's really beneficial. And you can mix that with the clove and make a powerful remedy. Beet goes with pomegranate, works through the heart and blood vessels. Cinnamon with honey and through the liver. Cocoa nibs and raisins. Raisins come from grapes, actually, and that actually works through the pituitary gland, the master gland. Coffee goes with dates and works through the thyroid gland. The next one is coriander and garlic, goes through the blood and activates the blood, gets the blood flowing, and also purifies the blood. And anybody who's very sick, small amounts of garlic and coriander mixed together, and in a few days, they will start to get back some vitality and some energy and start improving their health. Everybody with cancer should be using that combination as well. And anything that is when your body's too toxic and you want to offload, clean the blood first, or work through the blood with coriander and garlic. Fenugreek and nutmeg. some people might know fenugreek as methi, fenugreek and nutmeg through the gallbladder, flax milk and cardamom seeds, the adrenal glands, frankincense and marijuana, small amounts of marijuana, small amounts of frankincense, bone marrow, that's working through the bone marrow and activating the bone marrow, guava leaf together with rosemary through the pancreas. And I tell you what, all of these, but that I'm giving you has anti-aging effects, but the guava leaf and the rosemary has really powerful anti-aging effects. And that works through the pancreas, both sides of the pancreas, the digestive and the insulin producing parts. Then the next one is mango leaf and green tea, and that works through the brain. Very powerful combination. I love that one. It really has a nice taste, and it also makes you feel well in yourself. Then moringa and breadfruit leaf. So some of these, a few of you may not be able to get breadfruit leaves easily, but we will make it possible somewhere in the near or distant future to have people produce the breadfruit leaf for Ishtara Centre and maybe distribute it eventually. So that is possible. Oats and blueberry, and I'm sure already some of you might have been using that combination. I spoke to someone yesterday and they told me she uses oats and blueberry. So she's on the ball there. And that works through your spleen. And oats avena sativa is very calming, very relaxing. And what we need for our spleen, we are working and thinking all the time. When you think too much, your spleen is weakened. That's in the Chinese medicine. And oats, actually, avena sativa calms you and relaxes you, brings you back into a relaxed state. So when you have too much stress, blueberries and oats will help you to bring you back into a centered place. Mushroom with cayenne works through the sex glands, and very small amounts of cayenne. I would suggest take a capsule of cayenne and take about a third. Or if you can tolerate a lot of pepper, very much unlike me, I cannot tolerate a lot of pepper, so I use small amounts. And mushroom, mixture of different mushrooms, it's all available in capsule form these days or in a powdered form in a bag. And you can make a soup from it and have that when you're ready. Tulsi and gynostemma, very powerful in the lungs. And we live in COVID year, 2020, and our lungs are a target for that virus. And Tulsi, the holy basil, and gynostemma works very well for that. And turmeric and ginger, the immune system, very powerful combination. That's a combination that is really very good, and you can use that on a regular basis daily. Wheatgrass and cashew nut in the kidneys. So how do you use all of these things? And, what do you do? I think you try to gather some of these things. They can last a long time. If you make mixtures like this, they self-preserve in a way. You can put them in your refrigerator, or you could leave them outside for a long while too, and just use them. You would find that when you take these things, what happens is that you need less food because your body is going to be nourished by all of these. These are super nourishing combinations that are nourishing you at all levels. The thing about it is that if you can nourish the mind, then the body gets in a better place. The body will be nourished and satisfied because it comes from the mental plane. If you can nourish your spirit, then everything gets in a happy state as well. So these remedies, I call them a combination. It's all about alchemy. One particular substance, whether it is the guava leaf or the mango leaf or the oats or the cocoa nibs or cinnamon. I can tell you we have done all the testing. I don't need to go into details, but each one either is working on one area and not the two, and the other one is combining and working on all three. So you're creating by alchemy, by mixing these things into substances that can do so much for yourself. Our objective is really to get ourselves to be healthier people, to sustain our lives, to live as long as we want to live or you want to live. And even if you want to live 200 years, it's possible. We live in a world where, I'll tell you what, this universe is made up of many galaxies, many galaxies, maybe trillions of galaxies. So huge, vast. But guess what? This human body that we have, we as human beings, we are also a galaxy. It's exactly the same as the galaxy out there. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, and we are a micro galaxy out of the macro galaxy. And we have all the capabilities. Sometime today, and I was asking Zelima if she thinks that we have really aliens, other life forms out there. So far, in my own thinking, I have not come to a conclusion that aliens exist. Human beings exist on this planet. What we call aliens are beings existing in the quantum field, and they can make an appearance at any time. At any time. What is the future of human beings on this planet is to reach a point where we become one with the source and we don't have to die. We can just move vibrationally straight from the physical level into the quantum field, which religion will call heaven, and we can come back at any time we want. So the thing about that is that that's where we are heading. We have infinite possibilities. This, what I'm presenting today, and what I'm offering to you is the beginning of that journey. This year, 2020, is coming to an end, and 2020 means the opportunity to bring body, mind, and spirit into harmony with the whole. And it is not enough just to bring harmony. If you're going to bring yourself to be in one attunement, as somebody wrote, to be in tune with the infinite, you have to contribute. All of you have to contribute. You can't just sit back and not contribute. You have to make a difference. We all have to make a difference, and look carefully into your life and see what you're doing and what contribution you're making to the whole universe. We live in a quantum field, and space and time collapses in that quantum field, essentially. So that any little thing that you do just around where you are, it's influencing the entire universe. But you see, we are so short-sighted. We think only what is happening near us, in our houses, in our countries. Anything that's happening in Trinidad is affecting the whole country. Anything that's happening in America is affecting, the whole world. And so we have to start thinking in the larger picture and start living our lives in a way that can make a difference to the whole. We didn't come here to feed off the system and just to take from the system. We came here to contribute. We came here to provide our fragrance back into the universe. We came here to provide our fruits back to the universe, to share it. But we have been living our lives so selfishly, and greed has been the back of all of it. And greed comes in, we can't blame anybody for greed. We can only say that greed comes in because we think scarcity, we think limitation. And so when we think like that and when we behave like that, we have to hold on to everything. I would suggest that we start giving and sharing. Then you will see magic happen in your lives. Then you will see, as you share more and more, the microbiomes in your body will start to respond in a different way, contributing significantly to a regeneration of your body. That's the secret of life. It's not about looking for antioxidants and looking for things. What I'm presenting here today is to just help you, to help the microbiome to move back in the direction it's supposed to go. The God cells in us should get back to their God activities, supplying food for you in your gut, supplying vitamins, minerals, supplying new cells. Let us all start a journey of creating in our cells this body that came from our parents. What we need to do as we are still alive, and I'm going to leave you with a thought, is to change this body and remake our bodies with God cells. Then we become Homo Deus. Then we become the God person in this form. So we're moving from an old cellular type, which is this body that I have, and moving it consciously with intention and with the right ingredients that I've just supplied some of it. And this is maybe just the beginning of the journey to move that body, the bodies that you all have right now, into a new body created by the God cells. Only then we can call ourselves divine. Only then we can reach a point in life where we actually can move to the quantum field and be anywhere we want to be, and come back and continue to be here when we want to be here. That's what it's about. This physical world is a world of enjoyment. It's a different world, and it's a world we love to be in. Why should we want to run away and get to another place? Let us have the opportunity to lift our lives to the level where we can exist everywhere. Wherever we want to be, we can be. Right now, if you have a visa to travel to other countries, you can go. If you don't have one, you have limitations. Let us generate an idea like that so that we can move anywhere we want to be. We're stuck. We're stuck in this place. We have borders. We have lockdowns. Can you imagine? Can you imagine in the future they have lockdowns and they can't stop us anymore? We can just move and be anywhere we want to be. That is possible for all human beings. Maybe this COVID time is helping us to understand where we are at and look at the limitation and the mask that we have to wear. Let us remove that mask which is our persona. Let us remove that limitation that we all carrying ourselves and keeping ourselves small sized, thinking that we are not divine, thinking that we are not infinite beings. We are infinite beings. So I'll bring that to an end. I've given you enough. I think we have gone by 10 minutes and hope I've given you enough information to move your life within the next few years into another level. This is my last webinar for a while, until more information comes to me that I am willing to, that I want to share, then I would come back again and be with you.
It was beautiful, Dr. Harry.
I go back to my drawing board and my work laboratory and try to find new ways and new things that I can share with you. So thank you very much, all of you, and have a great evening. And I hope you enjoy my lights at the sides here, on both sides. The one on my other side, I can't get my left from right. Everything is going in one direction, funny enough. So, yeah, I think Kathy would recognize one of those crystals if she's there.
Yes, people were saying they want the crystals. They want to get their hands on the crystals as well.
But one is a clear quartz, and it was bought in Tucson some years ago. The other one is a machine I have 20 years now. It swirls the water, it creates water, magnetic fields. It has energies from the light, and also it has motion. It's spinning as well.
Okay.
Anyway,
so we have a million questions, Harry. So get ready for Q&A time. So real quick, guys, we'll take a and keep on adding your questions. We will do our best to answer as many as we can.
No, you can throw the questions.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through a couple updates on the Vitality Academy. So again, thank you guys. This is a presentation of Vitality Academy. I want to thank all of you for being here, for your support. We're so happy to have all of you on, and all of you who are existing members. We do appreciate you being there. And last time we were here, and Harry, can you let me know when you can see it on screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me know when you see the share.
It's loading. Okay, yes, it's now on now.
Thank you. So last time, Dr. Harry last week actually explained kind of the fundamentals of the Behind the Mask.
Roshan at all.
What's that? You're not saying Roshan? So last time, Dr. Harry explained the part 1 of Behind the Mask and went into details there, and that is on the site now. You can go see it as a member, or again, you can buy these as one-off. And then the week prior to Dr. Harry going on there, myself and Dr. Nilesh, we did the home fitness, creating a sustainable home workout or home workout habit. And we had a whole bunch of you, I would say 20 to 30 had committed to doing that. And the idea was to build a 5-minute exercise routine. One of the things I promised to you that night is that the exercise routine on there would have a PDF explaining everything a little more laid out, because it was done in slide format and done via kind of the live webinar before. So that is there. So if you are a member already, or if you've invested in there, go ahead and check that out. It is in there now. So I just want to update you guys. So last week, the full detailed presentation of Behind the Mask, and then again, the PDF with the workouts and all that kind of good stuff is now in the home fitness, creating a sustainable workout habit. So that is there. Check it out. You're going to love it. And we appreciate you and all your support. Okay, so let's jump in to the questions.
But before you answer, I saw a question there. Someone asked about that. I said death is the final thing, and that's it. And explain. Well, the idea here is that most people, what we have been taught by all the religions in the world so far is that when we die, don't worry too much about it. We will go to heaven or reincarnate. I've said before that these are only stories, and the majority of people, most people, I think the majority of people, when we die, we never attain awareness or awakening or consciousness to the level that we can be conscious during death and therefore be conscious after death. So when people die today, the majority of people, I would say maybe close to 99% of people when we die, they have no consciousness, and it's like going into deep sleep and they never get out of it. Everything that is of you eventually breaks up, goes back to the quantum field. The divine in you goes back to divine. It's never left the divine, so it is still the divine. There is a difference, however. A small number of people, very few on the planet at each moment, they become awakened. And that awakening leads to a conscious state even during death and a conscious state after death. And those are the very few people who continue to exist. And they may come back and forth. So it sounds tough, but here's what. We all have the opportunity to awaken ourselves in this lifetime. So please go for it, you know? Rather than just accept the fact that what the story is, we may just end up not even knowing. Because can you imagine going to sleep and never waking up? Where are you? You don't know where you are. There's no consciousness. That's what happens to most people. But a lot of people will disagree with me, but let's see.
The great mystery. Okay. So I'm just going to go from the top, Dr. Harry. So the first one, how to use the noni fruit.
Okay, there's several ways in which you can use noni. Quickly, you can actually use the fruit just before it ripens and chop it in bits and put it in a jug and leave it for 2 to 3 days. I'll tell you something about noni. You don't need to preserve noni at all. After 3 or 4 days, you extract the liquid and you can put it in your refrigerator and you can drink that. Another way of doing it is to wait until fruit is ripened, then it starts to ferment and liquid comes out of it. And you can then literally take that off and you can keep it in a container. I've had noni like that for about 20 years and it's still pretty good. It's not deteriorated at all. So because it has such a high level of energy, life force, you don't need a preservative. In the same way, if you take a piece of dried coconut, the white nutty part inside, you can leave it on your desk for 5 years. It doesn't deteriorate because of the high life force. So the noni can be taken in 2 ways, like I said. So hope you got that.
Kenzen asks, can local stinging nettle be used? Which
Yes.
is the kind of nettle that,
yeah. It's all quite similar. We have 2 varieties. We have a very strong stinging one and then one that is mild. You can handle with your hands and you get mild stings on your hands, not as strong. That's the one that grows up wild. I have like right now 2 trees and I can get a lot of leaves from it. And that works on the entire body. What I do is pick the leaves, put in a blender, water, and then blend and strain it off. And you can store that for quite some days in your refrigerator. And you can drink like 1 to 2 ounces. It's highly nutritious, works at all levels of yourself.
Fabian asks, what is your view on taking a colon cleanser before going on a diet of complete foods? Would you recommend it to first remove toxins and waste?
Well, the thing is that, colon cleansing is a technique, and a lot of people do it and feel the benefits of it. There's another school of thought. Then the colon, everything moves from this way down, and instead of going from the bottom up and cleaning out, what you do is you start all of these foods and taking small amounts of them and finding places on a daily basis to use them. You would cleanse yourself. So,
Okay.
you don't have to be focused just on colon cleansing. If you start with your blood, the colon is going to get better. All of these foods will actually help the microflora in your body, the gut flora. All of these foods, they all influence the microbiome in your gut. And gradually, the bad ones will then be converted into good ones. So you're putting nutrients in the body that will force the microbiome, and the information of these nutrients will cause the microbiome to move back into their healthy state.
Wendy asks, will instant coffee work as well as brewed coffee?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
The dry instant coffee, would that work as well as brewed coffee?
I would suggest don't use instant coffee. Just get normal ground coffee or beans and grind it yourself. I think that's the most natural. That's my feeling.
And then Bernadette asks, can you use frankincense oil? That's the only way I see it.
Right. If you can get an oil, it is in the West, it's very much, against taking essential oils internally. If you go to France, you would find practitioners would put oil on a cube of sugar or put it in water and you drink it. In the West, they would tell you don't consume oils internally. So you have to be careful what we are saying to people. I guess the oils, you can absorb it through your skin, but I think the best way is to mix it and make a tea. Maybe hopefully somebody might be able to do that when the laws have changed and you can put a few bits of the marijuana with the frankincense into a tea bag and then make a tea and drink it. But I think in Trinidad right now you can't do that to sell it around.
Lisa asks, can you heat these blends?
The answer is yes. You're not going to boil them. What you do is, like most of them can be mixed at room temperature, but you can actually, some of them, like the example that I've given, I said you can make into a tea, the coriander, for instance, you can make into a tea and the garlic. Well, I could call it like a soup tea. And there was another one, the mushroom and the cayenne, you can make that way. But all of them can be used with hot water and made like a tea and drink. And sometimes you could brew it more than once.
Okay, a couple people ask questions about the mango leaf. Is there a certain kind of mango, or really does it matter what kind?
It doesn't really matter. Once you get good quality mango leaves, it's good enough.
Okay.
A mango is a mango is a mango. The leaves are all the same, basically.
Okay. Can the moringa seeds be used? I know you mentioned, I assume you meant the moringa leaves, right?
Yeah, in what we tested, the seeds are pretty strong, and some people would chew them up. I tried chewing it up; it's pretty strong. If you take too much of the leaves too, you can activate your gallbladder and liver too much, and you can feel nauseous for a long time. That happened to me in the early days. So you learn from your trial and errors, for instance. So taking the moringa and mixing it with the breadfruit, small amounts, and you make a tea. It's just like green tea. If you're making green tea, how much you're going to use, of the tea. It's in the same way. And remember, these are highly concentrated food, but they also provide a lot of nutrients in that small amount. So you don't need a lot to get the benefits.
And then Katie asked, any alternative to oats? She's celiac.
The thing is that if you were looking for an alternative to oats, I guess eventually we can probably look at what can be mixed with rice, for instance, and like we can present that as information.
Okay.
So if you have celiac disease and you don't, but I think there's a gluten-free oats. I don't know if she has tried that out, but Bob Redmill has a gluten-free oats. I don't know how they do it, but they claim it's gluten-free.
Okay. And does the fermentation help reduce the proteins that cause the issue with the stomach and celiac? Do you know?
I have no no real good evidence on that and research on that.
Okay. Any alternative for wheatgrass? Apparently, the same person as celiac and can have wheatgrass either on the wheatgrass one.
So, well, I don't know if she's bothered by the wheatgrass, but if she feels not too happy about the wheatgrass, leave that out of the picture. Just use the others. Because remember, all of these are working through that particular organ to influence the whole body. So we don't have a problem in terms of saying, okay, because this works through the kidneys, that you're going to miss out on something. Because all these products are working through an organ, but influencing the whole body.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And a couple people had questions about areas that weren't necessarily covered. And I have 3 areas, and I just didn't know if this is something you hadn't studied or figured out yet. One was skin, one was hair, and one was like dental, so teeth.
Right. Well, at Ishtara, we do have a formula that we create as tooth and gum, right? Okay. But here's the thing. The hair, the nails, and so on, the skin, they are all influenced by internal organs. The nature, the quality of your hair and your skin, like for instance, hair is actually working, is controlled by the kidneys to a large extent. But skin, hair, nails, they all actually, as long as your health improves, they will all improve. You know,
Okay.
you don't necessarily, as I said before, if you are looking at, let's say, even if you take coffee and dates, for instance, and that's working through the thyroid gland, as long as you don't overdo it and overstimulate your thyroid gland, all right, then your whole body will be improving. Your skin, your eyes, your hair, every part of your body. Just keep that in mind. Whichever product you're going to use, they are influencing all the organs. We have tested it separately on all the organ systems because all of these combinations are actually working at all three levels of yourself: body, mind, spirit. So we're giving you a whole lot of stuff, but what I'm saying is that if one of them you cannot use, that's okay. Some people might choose out of the whole lot. Okay, it's in terms of what I can afford financially, I might choose 5 things and I use those 5 things. You will get the same results as if another person will be using another 5.
Okay. Okay. And can we add all of these to hot water and drink as tea?
Can we add all of these things into hot water and drink it like a big
Yeah.
soup? All right.
Like a big
It's important. That's a good question, right? So let us say you have turmeric and ginger, and you mix that, and you want to sweeten it, and you put let's say some honey. Honey by itself is out of balance. It works at this level and the other level, okay, and the cinnamon works at the physical level. So that's how the harmony occurs. Let me make it quite clear that anything is already in harmony. You can add anything else that is in harmony and it does not disturb it. Is that kind of clear, you think?
I think that's clear.
Yeah, if you take turmeric and ginger and you want to mix that with wheatgrass and cashew nuts and blend that up together in some warm water and drink that, that's okay, because what is in harmony will not disturb another one that is in harmony. But if you take let's say wheatgrass and cashew and you're going to mix it with some, let's say, coffee alone or cocoa nibs alone, then you have problems. A good example would be if you take your oats and you soak it with overnight in water with your blueberry, you can put cinnamon and the honey in there as well,
Okay.
and mix it up. So, or you can put cocoa nibs and the raisins as well. So as long as you mix things in harmony, you're not going to disturb the mix eventually.
Okay. Bernadette asks, did Dr. Harry come up with these combinations, or are they traditional Indian or Chinese? Very interesting stuff.
Okay, some of them, like the wheat, the turmeric and ginger, I combined that about 20 something years ago, 24, 25 years ago. I basically look at my work as original work in the sense that I would put turmeric on my circuit and test a number of people and look to see what blends with that to affect all three levels of yourself. So all of this is purely what we have created and what we have tested. So if somebody comes and tells me, well, I found flax milk blending in with cumin seeds, we will test that and see if it works. For instance, if you tell me that turmeric absorption would be enhanced by bioperine or black pepper, and you test and it doesn't work, I do not accept that. So I'm dealing with actual testing of people and testing it over and over to make sure that it works. So what I'm giving you is what we have tested. So I'm not based on Ayurvedic medicine, but let me put it this way. I'm not discovering something totally and entirely new. All this information is out there. And people, let's say, intuitively would have mixed things together. What I'm doing is trying to find what I can do together and contribute to the health and wellness of people. And I'm not taking the credit for it. I put that at the back of me and say to myself, okay, we have something that we can offer people to improve their life and their health. So I remember giving a talk in Jamaica with cinnamon to be used in diabetes. And we did this, and somebody got up and said, you stole this information from somebody in India who did the research. And I never looked. I didn't have internet in those days. I didn't have a computer in those days. And so I did my own testing. I have instruments. I'm now using instruments for testing almost everything that I do in my work for now about 35, 36 years. So I generally do not take other people's information and just put it on there. If it works, I will say, yes, it works, and I will add it to a list. But generally, I do my own research.
Excellent. Megan had a quick question for me, actually. She was saying, recall you mentioning Dr. Gundry's stuff previously. Do all these recommendations work together? I would say yes. So the quite simple thing with Dr. Gundry, Megan, is that there's proteins in certain foods, and these proteins can mess up your gut lining, if you will, your gut protective lining. And the only thing on here that potentially could is the oats. And the recommendation Dr. Harris has for the oats is a fermented oat. And typically, something that's soaked or fermented, depending on the particular grain, will eliminate many of the bad things that mess up with the gut. So I would say all of this, it would be okay by Dr. Gundry, and the fermented thing would be probably a really good way to get rid of that, which he actually recommends very often as well.
The other thing is that when you mix something with something else, as I've said before, you're now changing the whole dynamic of it. You're dealing with alchemy. So cashew nuts would normally be not recommended by Dr. Gundry. But if you mix the cashew nut with the wheatgrass, you don't end up with cashew nut anymore and wheatgrass. You're ending up with another food substance that is alchemically different. And so the way it interacts with the human body is going to be different.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Sargam asks, is it okay to put the ginger and turmeric in cold pressed juice? So instead of like a water mixture, can it go in a cold pressed juice?
So you're making the two from the raw stuff and pressing it and combining it. That's fine, no problem at all.
Okay. Yeah. All righty. What's the best source for wheatgrass, dried or fresh?
Well, ideally, the fresh one would always be the best thing, right? Unfortunately, in many parts of the world, we don't have wheatgrass unless we grow it ourselves. A lot of people in Trinidad started growing wheatgrass, and after, let's say, 6 months to a year, they all get tired and fed up, and they drop it. I've known many people, including ourselves, we were growing wheatgrass at one time. So, dried stuff and powdered stuff may not necessarily be the ideal, but when you, again, mix these things together, that's where the difference is. If you take the wheatgrass powder, and if you can get a good quality one from organic India or maybe from the States where you can have organic products that are pretty good, and then you combine, then we're not looking at wheatgrass anymore, and we're not looking at cashew nut anymore. We're looking at a new construct. And the idea behind all of these things is to change what you have into something totally different that is actually operating at 3 levels of yourself. The basis of all of this here, this combination, is it's working at all 3 levels of yourself, not just one area or 2 areas. I can tell you we have tested all of this, and I don't need to go into details with that, but every one, these combinations, let's take the fennel seed and the almonds. The almonds work at a physical level. That's one level. The fennel seeds are working at the other 2 levels, and so they combine. If you look at the pomegranate and the beet works at the physical level, the pomegranate at 2 levels. The marijuana and the frankincense, interestingly, the marijuana works more at the physical level, the frankincense at the other 2 levels. So they all, combine in such a way that they come together as a whole. And now you're creating a mixture that is different. That's what we need to get in the back of our minds. We're no longer dealing with flax milk together with cardamom. The mixture is going to make something totally different. Okay. It's becoming, remember, we are turning it from a left spin into 0 spin, which is nothing but creating a state of stillness, oneness inside of yourself. It's just as meditation. We said in the last webinar that meditation, medicine, they're all the same. They come from the same root word. And these combinations are the same as well. It's generating 0 spin. Anytime you generate 0 spin, whether it is actually in spinning and meditating, holding a right-hand conch shell turns your energies within and works at 3 levels of yourself as well. So just sitting with a right-hand conch shell and sitting, whether you put it on your chest or on your lap, and sitting quietly, it takes your energies inwards. and brings you in harmony at all three levels. So that's another technique. And we have discussed breathing and so on in previous webinars. Okay.
Awesome. All right. One more question. I'll combine two more questions. It'll be our last one.
Go ahead.
Okay. So post-menopause, should we concern ourselves with the sex glands, the mushroom and cayenne mix? So for post-menopausal.
When you say we should be concerned, I'm not sure what you're asking, whether you're asking it's a good thing to use or is it going to be bad to use?
Well, it's a woman, and I think she may be postmenopausal. And she was saying, should we concern ourselves with our sex glands or with the sex glands if we're postmenopausal? Like, should we do that one if we're already postmenopausal?
Well, the organs would be functioning at a bit lower level. You can probably go to the pituitary gland and have coconibs and raisins. Just look at the list. And the pituitary gland would be a lot better off influencing the whole body and also the sex gland, because pituitary gland controls the ovaries too. So it's simple to just look at the list and decide where you want to start. At the end of the day, if you even use coffee and dates, you're going to have an influence in harmonizing the body. If you use the avocado seed and clove, you will also be doing that. If you use the almonds and fennel, you're going to be doing that as well. Remember, fennel has a lot of influences on the female hormones too in the body. So it is not a big puzzle. Just sit with your intuition and go with that.
Okay, last question, Dr. Herring. Promise the last one. So for the leaves, how do you prepare the leaves, whether it be the breadfruit leaf, the mango leaf, whatever? And then do they eat the leaves? Do they make a tea from the leaves? Do they consume the leaves? Do they discard the leaves, when they're actually consuming them? So the first part is preparation. And the second part is actual integration and consumption.
All right, I can just take a half a minute. I'm going to show you something. I'm just going to get it. One second.
Love these questions, guys.
So this is a box with guava leaves. It's being dried now for about a week and a half, and it's already very crisp. So you can put that into a blender and blend. And here I have in a bag rosemary. And so when you finish, you can do many things with that. You can combine them in a container, and they will all be crushed up, and they would look like this eventually. That's the same product. So you can make a soup with this if you like, with hot water, and have it like a soup. And you can add other things that are complete. You might want to add some coriander and garlic in it. So use your creative abilities. Those things that are, let's say, savory, you can add with savory things, and you can consume it. I made it quite clear, what is already complete can add with what is complete, and you don't make a mess of it. It enhances. So I dry all my herbs indoors in cardboard boxes. They dry very well, the mango leaves and all the leaves, the moringa, all of these things. And after a week or 2 weeks, they're dried and they're crisp, and you can then crush them up in a coffee grinder or whatever you have. I use a blender as well, and like a Vitamix. So a little bit of work, but once you do it, it can last a long time. And you store them in jars, and then you can use them that way.
Awesome.
As I said, use your intuition. Start using it. What do you need? What do I need today? What color shirt you're going to wear or blouse you're going to wear, tomorrow morning, kind of stuff. And you go with that.
Awesome. Any parting words, Dr. Herring?
No, I think I've said what I had to say. I would just, towards the end of the period that I had, I think I made it quite clear what I wanted to say at the end. I tell people, go in peace, live their lives, enjoy what they are living, what they're doing, and everything in every way. Enjoyment is a big thing. There's nothing but this physical world is a world of enjoyment, and that's why we are here. We are here to enjoy what we do and enjoy our lives in the way we do it, what we do.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, we appreciate you watching. Thank you Dr. Harry for having an amazing presentation today. And for everyone, we appreciate your time. We will see you next time. And as always, have a great night. We'll see you soon. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah, bye-bye. Right.